A day to answer an almost impossible question, which is how do I approach prospecting to enterprise customers or prospects? It's so hard to give answers to questions like that because there's no real silver bullet answer that applies for multiple companies targeting different audiences, different verticals with different services and different price points. However, I let that sit with me and I wrote down a few different ways that you could potentially think about what channels are going to be best for your prospecting efforts, especially for marketing agencies. Now on the screen, you'll see that there's a table and I've got a monthly retainer value. So let's just assume that these are 6-month or 12-month retainers and these are monthly amounts. So we've got less than 2K, 2K to 10, 10 to 20, and then more than 20K. On the left-hand side, I've got different channels, which I'll go through in a bit more detail shortly, to say whether or not I think they could be used and be effective or not, depending on that deal size. Again, very hard to give a one-size-fits-all answer, but hopefully this gives you a good starting point when it comes to thinking about your outbound prospecting approach. Before we get into this table here, it's really important to really understand who your ideal customer profiles are and your buyer personas. Here's a matrix that I work through with all of my customers where we go through the different ICPs, so they're the companies that you're trying to target, and then the personas within each of those companies. So it's really important that you fully understand these because that comes into play when you're trying to send relevant messaging. Unfortunately, a lot of the emails that I see marketing agencies send are just not relevant. They're very much spray and pray, and that is you've built a list with 2,000 of a particular job title and you send the same message to all 2,000 of those people. That is not relevant. That is not going to work, and unfortunately that's how most people think about outbound prospecting. So back to the table now. So we've got the channel, and the first channel, which is email with a relevant message. So that's because you've done your research on the ideal customer profile and you understand the challenges, pain points that the personas have within those companies. It's with a 2K or less average deal size, you will definitely get replies if that message is relevant, but you don't quite have the time to spend on personalizing the message because the deal size is too low to justify the amount of time that you'll need to create those personalized messaging. I'd also suggest using LinkedIn with relevant messages as well. So that's the perfect two combo channels that you can use. Now, it doesn't mean that cold calling doesn't work or direct mail doesn't work. I'm just trying to share that if the deal size is a certain size, so under 2K, it's quite hard to find the budget to afford some of these more costly channels as well. You'll also notice that one-to-many videos can be used effectively with less than 2K a month retainer sizes. The key here is to focus on the triggers and signals in the market that will increase that relevancy. Another thing that I work through with all of my customers is identifying what are those best triggers to use to launch your outreach, to send that relevant message. As you can see, there's individual triggers and there's also account level triggers as well. And failing those individual account level triggers, you've also got the persona level triggers. So these are the objectives and the challenges that these prospects have in their role. So moving into the 2K to 10K. Now this is a really difficult one because if you're close to 2K, let's say you're 2.5 or 3K a month, some of these channels might not be cost effective for you to work on. If it's 10K, then you could use all of these. So the ticks here are email with relevancy, LinkedIn with relevancy. More importantly, you've got email with relevancy and personalization, and then LinkedIn with that relevant message, personalized, and maybe including some voice notes as well, which can be sent via the LinkedIn mobile app. Now, the reason why voice notes are included in this particular column here for 2 to 10K is because it just takes time. It takes time to pull up your app on your phone, record individual voice notes for each prospect that you're reaching out to, and send it to them. I've been having issues with my LinkedIn. I keep recording voice notes and they don't send, so I've given up for now, and hopefully it's just a bug and it will be fixed soon. You might also want to introduce cold calling when it comes to reaching out to these retainers, because if it's a 10K retainer, we're looking at, if it's a 12-month engagement, that's over 120K. So you have the budget within your cost per acquisition to then have people on the phone cold calling and having conversations with these prospects. I've also included one-to-one videos. Again, if you're closer to that 10K a month of a retainer, then one-to-one videos can be effective. you wouldn't really want to spend time recording one-to-one videos for a retainer which is 1K or 1.5, again, for that time. Moving into 10K to 20K, you sending just relevant emails without personalization might not be enough. So you really want to make sure that you are personalizing your messages to that individual. Now, a quick note on personalization, it's not just about inserting the first name, the company name, and doing little bits of personalization like merge tags like that. It's actually about making that message extremely personalized and customized to the individual prospect that you're reaching out to. Now, in the Outbound Prospecting Playbook that I have with my customers, we talk about the different types of personalization. My number one rule, though, is if you can't find something to personalize and tie that to your value proposition, then skip it. Don't force personalization. You'll sometimes see emails which are like, hey, Mark, I see that you breathe oxygen and eat food. Let's connect, or let's buy my software. It just doesn't work like that. But there are some sources that you can look at. And it really is a combination between the triggers, so things like self-authored content and engaged content, as well as things that people have in their LinkedIn profile. Now, especially if you're targeting prospects who are active on LinkedIn, there might be some information in their headline, their bio, the about section. It could be some posts that they've shared or some videos that they've recorded, activities, so what posts have they liked or commented on, and then prior experiences as well. So if you've worked at the same company, that can be quite an easy way to personalize, but you've got to think, how do you connect that piece of personalization to the rest of your message? It can be done easier with certain prospects and certain value propositions than it can be with others. Another few sources to look at, any podcasts that they've spoken on or blog posts that they've guest written or published. And if their name is quite unique, then you can do a Google search. Searching for John Smith, it's going to be quite hard to find that individual. You might want to add the company name in there just to see if you can find any additional information. But as I mentioned, if you can't find any meaningful personalization, then skip and just move on to that relevancy. Relevancy can be focused on their challenges, their responsibilities, their goals. And then when it comes to the company, like what is that company going through at the moment? Have they just raised funding? Are they using a particular technology? Have they been recently published in the news? These are things that you can use to make that message personalized to that prospect, because you can't send a message that references a company, a news article where the company was mentioned in the news, to different prospects at different companies, because this is specific to that particular prospect. So key lesson here, personalization is about making this email relevant and personalized to the individual prospect you're sending it out to, not just inserting first name, company name, or job title. Back to the table. So we've got one-to-one video and then direct mail. Direct mail can be quite effective when it comes to outbound prospecting, because it just is a bit of a pattern interrupt. Not everybody receives direct mail. I did write in here proper direct mail. So what I mean by proper is finding something that's specifically personalized to the individual prospect that you're reaching out to. Let's say, for example, that you see that they have a dog and they often post about having a dog. Send them something that's to do with the dog or to their pet. Or if they follow a particular sports team like Arsenal, then you could send them something related to Arsenal. It's not just sending them some cakes to their office or to their home address as well. Direct mail can be really effective. Like I said, it is a pattern interrupt. We don't receive a lot of direct mail. I don't receive any letters at all these days. So it can help you stand out in their general busy day-to-day life. But it can be quite expensive. So this is why I typically recommend that you only start to use direct mail when your retainers are going to be 10 to 20k per year, because again, you have that budget from your cost per acquisition costs to be able to reach out and spend more time researching a personalized gift to send to people. I generally don't recommend sending a gift card for Uber Eats or a $100 Amazon voucher. It's just too transactional. If you're going to do direct mail or proper direct mail, make sure that you are sending something which is really, really personalized to that individual. Lastly, we've got more than 20k retainers. Here, the email with relevancy or LinkedIn with relevancy just won't be enough. But of course, that email with relevancy and personalization and voice notes on LinkedIn can also work. You definitely want to be doing one-to-one videos. Direct mail can be effective as well. But what I've also mentioned here is events, dinners, and networking. So I was speaking to a consultant friend of mine who runs his own consultancy, and he was asking me if I could take a look at his cold emails. He's reaching out to senior leaders in the HR space, And I just asked him, why is he not going to these dinners in London where he's based, or why is he not setting up these dinners or networking events? Because you really need to work the room when you are selling a service which is more than 20k per month. So you can build that trust and you can build that authority. You want to be speaking in front of those people and, like I said, working the room. So it doesn't mean that you can't prospect to companies that you have an average deal size of 20k and up, but you might want to consider implementing a kind of network or event-based strategy where you're inviting people to the event. A previous customer of mine used to go through when there was a huge event in San Francisco, so Dreamforce, Salesforce's event. They would then reach out to a number of key prospects in that area to say that they're organizing a meal or drinks, a happy hour after or around the event, and they invited their prospects to join them with that happy hour. Now they put a few $1,000s behind the bar to pay for the drinks. So again, you can't really afford to do that when your monthly retainer is only 1.5 or 2k. But as you get close to that 20k mark, you can afford to spend more money on acquiring these customers. So hopefully that's valuable. 10 minutes or just over 10 minutes. Like I said, it's very hard to give a one-size-fits-all answer to this question, but use this as a general rule of thumb to try. And if you're in that 2 to 10k range where a lot of agency owners are, I would start with email with relevancy. And if you're not getting the sort of replies that you're expecting, then you might need to try having a more personalized approach to your outbound prospecting. All right, that's it from me. See you soon.